Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, everybody at home, and welcome to Houselights, the House of Selick. That's right, we are ending our section on the directorial animated works of Henry Selick, the man who was the director of Nightmare Before Christmas. And today we are talking about Wendell and Wild from 2022 that debuted on Netflix. My name is Tristan Riddell, and with me as always is Darren Moser and John Mills. Now, this is going to be an interesting podcast because I feel like when we talked about doing this show, when we talked about doing the House of Selick, all of us were really on board because, you know, we all love Nightmare Before Christmas, and we all agreed. Well, we all, you know, said, like, those of us who'd seen it hadn't seen James and the Giant Peach for a long time, so, you know, let's give it a shot. You know, and with Coraline, it was, you know, like, I hadn't seen it in a long time. I wanted to give it a fair shake. And none of us had seen Wendell and Wild. So it was like, you know, how could this go wrong? How could the House of Selick go wrong when you have such a banger like Nightmare Before Christmas? So this...
20 years before. Like
20 years before.
And this is a jump from 2009 to 22. And maybe there was a bit of a delay with COVID, but still, like, that's a bit of a jump. That's more than the production time. That is getting the movie made time.
It's he worked on a series in between.
Oh, okay.
And you know, it wasn't a feature film, obviously, but he did work on a series in between. And then Wendell and Wild started life as a book. I think it's unpublished, but it started as a book and then turned into this. So everybody can debate for all time as to whether it should have been turned into a book first or whether this was the best choice.
Well, and a book, but it was by Henry Selick, right? He wrote this story.
He wrote
flushed
this
it out. It was all ready to go. Mm-hmm. Perfect story. Yes.
This was written by Selick and Jordan Peele and Clay McLeod Chapman.
And Chapman was the one that was co-writing the book with him.
Okay.
Peele came on for the screenplay.
Gotcha. And so, Jordan Peele, his production company, Monkey Paw, produced it. And this was the first animated film that they produced. And Jordan Peele, you know, as we all know, you know, cinematically is, you know,
take it off like a rocket.
Took off. Yeah, exactly. That is, it took the words right out of my mouth. Took off like a rocket from Get Out and with Us and Nope.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, you know, he's become a very beloved filmmaker, and, you know,
he's got clout now.
Huge amounts of clout. And so the fact that he chose to produce and also, you know, have a starring role in this shows a lot of faith in the product, as well as being a writer. And I, of course, always know him from Key and Peele, the sketch comedy show on Comedy Central. And so when I found out that this was coming out, I was super excited because I was like, whoa. Henry Selick, Keegan-Michael Key, and Jordan Peele, like, together.
Like how can you lose?
That's
right
a recipe for success right there. And
that's
excitement.
A recipe for success.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, how could it go wrong? Let's talk about that. How did it go wrong, folks?
Okay. You know what? I'll just throw it right out there. I think very obviously the movie I'll throw out there gets derailed by the fact that Key and Peele are in it. I think that the opportunity for them to be funny.
Does it make them a bigger role than they should have been?
Well, I mean, the movie's Wendell and Wild, so they're in it, and there's something about the focus of it, yes, where it sticks with them. I think you're right there, Darren. I think that their role expanded beyond what it should have been, because it's very obviously supposed to be Kat's story, but you wind up staying with Wendell and Wild because you want to be with Wendell and Wild because they're the fun side characters, right?
Yeah.
although the world they come from is odd, I don't know that it's fully formed in terms of an imaginary place.
Yeah, I think that was something that was really confusing to me. Not to derail your
No,
comment, but
please.
the we have Ving Rhames as Buffalo Belzer, and so we have this pseudo amusement park on his belly, and the dead are like going through this amusement park, and it's hell. It's analogous to hell, and I'm like, okay, all right, so he's a demon. Hell is an amusement park on his belly. I can get behind that. Dante talked about crazy stuff like that. But then at the end, we find out that, actually throughout the picture, we find out that Wendell and Wild want to redesign the park, and then they find that's actually their main motivation.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they finally get to redesign the park, and they let Kat know that they're going to redesign it. And so it's going to be cool for their parents for Kat's parents to stay dead because they're going to be at this cool park. So is it not hell anymore? Is it not a form of punishment?
They did say that they'll get them a day pass or something. Like, they didn't imply that they're in hell. They implied this world or the one above can come and visit our amazing theme park.
Which again, to Tristan's point, I'm like, their motivation is screwy. It truly is screwy, because they don't want to make Wendell and Wild terrible people because Key and Peele are playing them, but they are demons in something analogous to hell.
They're PG demons.
The first time you encounter Buffalo Belzer, you see him eat the damned, travel through his insides, through his intestines, and come out his butthole. So I don't know how you can be like, yeah, but then we'll have a cool amusement park on it. And everybody's, it is undone, I think, to bring it back to my point, by the fact that Key and Peele are on it, and they don't want to make them bad guys per se. They want to have that thing that you're alluding to, Tristan, where at the end they're like, yeah, but it's just an amusement park for the afterlife, and it's a fun place to go to. It's like, well, no, you've established that this place is a bad place to go to. Nobody wants to go there.
Like, it's a punishment. And also, I just want to note that I think that's the first time that the word butthole has been used on this podcast.
Probably so.
I just want to note. I want to note that for the record. So, and even I know we may be going too deep into it, but even if, like, say it was the best, amusement park in the world. Say it was the best Six Flags you ever been to. It's Disney World, Harry Potter World combined. I don't want to spend eternity there.
Yeah.
That sounds like hell in itself.
I guess, broad strokes, the issue I have with this movie is it feels like a high schooler wrote it in draft one. Everything is linked together like, well, and then they write this down, Bob. Okay. So they really want to make an amusement park, but then, they get this magic hair cream, and they find out it can bring the dead back to life. So they find this girl, and, but then they get rerouted by these random boulders. And so they end up over, like, it sounds like a string of consciousness plot that was written down, and some movies can maybe make that work. But I was like, when is this movie starting? Because it starts with the devils. It starts with Kat. It starts with her flashback.
And then there's
starts
Hell
over
Maidens.
and over and over.
And then there's certain real rules on what the Hell Maidens can do, but we don't define the rules on what the Hell Maidens can do. And then there's a nun that can morph into liquid, but she's also a Hell Maiden. But then there's this dude who doesn't have legs, and he can trap demons.
It sounds like, and then there's a blank like that. I felt that sentence inserted throughout this entire movie multiple times.
It's a Mad Lib script.
It kind of is. And, I mean, we were talking about, about Peele a moment ago, and I know people like to shy away from adult animated because everybody thinks kids when you think of stop motion or animation. But man, if this had been a rated R, scary sensibilities of his caliber, I mean, you'd have to completely change the script. But something like that, I think would have been interesting. But it has that kind of RoboCop 3 vibe of, we're going to make a RoboCop movie, but it's going to be PG-13. And what do you mean that doesn't work? Like,
Darren,
this
I
doesn't work
get
like
what you're
that.
saying there. I really
That's
get
a
what you're
great
saying
poll
because,
too.
yeah, I think this really feels half-assed with the content. Where as I was watching it, I was like, "Who is this for?"
Right.
Like
I don't know.
it's too edgy to be for kids. It's too kiddie to be for adults. So is it for the teenage crowd who loves Coraline? You know, like I don't know who this is for. It's so utterly strange. Like if I do want to say a positive about it, about the story and the vibe and everything about it, is that, you know, like much like Peele's other work, this is unapologetically black.
True.
And you don't see that too often in mainstream films. You're seeing it more and more. You really don't see it in animated films. Like, you really don't see it. And so that is definitely something interesting. And so you're going towards that demographic, and to have somebody, you know, it's funny because like when you have Tim Burton, who you know, casts no minorities in his movies,
He
and
gets
then
the
you have
same
Henry
3 people
Selick.
every time. We all know
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
And then you have Henry Selick, who's going in a different direction, where like this is very much a black film with a black cast and a more minority led cast, you know, like produced by Jordan Peele, written by Jordan Peele and Henry Selick. Like, that is a very interesting dynamic that it brings to the piece. But this story is so poor that the great
It's
animation
scattered.
can't make up for it. It's so scattered. It's so all over the place. It's like Coraline, where Coraline had beautiful animation, but just a meandering plot. This has a worse plot than Coraline.
I don't think it has a plot. I honestly would have trouble telling you. I'm like, it's a series of events. Sure, things happen, but oh look, and then there's a picture that's been painted on rooftops, and there's what? Like,
Seriously.
look, there's got to be somebody out there who hates what I'm about to say, but this is an ungainly mess. And Jordan Peele may have been involved in helping write the script and shifted focus or what have you. But I think, to go back to Coraline, which you just did, it's another example of how Selick needs a strong producer sitting there with him and saying no, because let's go all the way back to
when
what
you
we were
go
talking
off the
about.
needle, you got to pull him
Right.
back on center. What is the center of this story? I do not know.
We
what the
were
center
all
of this story
excited
is.
because Nightmare Before Christmas is great. And we talked about the stories. Again, we talked about this last week too, where Burton was there and Burton cared very deeply. And he might not have put the movie together, but he was like, Selick felt his presence as, I'm the producer. I expect X, Y, and Z. And then James and the Giant Peach, we trip right after Nightmare. Coraline, all of us are like, what happened? And you know, the fact that they extended the script so much to add stuff is where that seems to have all gone wrong. And then this, I can only guess that Jordan Peele was probably really excited about participating in this, but then too busy working on Nope to have been as involved as he should have been.
I think that's a really fair assessment.
Yeah.
And it's actually a discussion that I was having with my wife. She was the one who said, and so I got to give her credit, where, you know, Henry Selick may have been resentful for all of the attention that Tim Burton has gotten for Nightmare Before Christmas. Because, you know, we've talked about that on that episode where, you know, Selick said like, oh, he was barely there. He was only there for a few days at a time over the course of a couple of years. He's like, I was the one who was there every single day making the movie. And while that is true, and Henry Selick deserves a lot of credit for Nightmare, I'm not trying to take that away whatsoever. He deserves as much credit as he is, as we can give him for Nightmare, for the artistry that he brought to the picture. But it was Tim Burton's vision. Tim Burton knew what he wanted. He had a style. He knew the character. He created the characters. He knew the story. He knew the through line, the center. He knew the style. He knew what he wanted. He knew where the story needed to go. He had the verve down, the music. He knew exactly what it was in his head. Henry made that happen. What we have seen over the course of 20 plus years, is Henry Selick without Tim Burton, without that guiding hand. And this is what we've gotten. We've gotten fantastic animation, stellar animation. Like, he is basically what George Lucas is to digital production, Henry Selick is to stop motion animation.
Yes.
And he's even said now he feels that stop motion is practically indistinguishable from CG animation at this point. Like, it's so smooth that I think he actually purposely under animated some parts of this movie to kind of give it that vibe, because I remember or also like the deciding to keep the seam lines around the eyes of the head.
Friggin' hate. I hate that with a fiery passion.
Same.
It is bullshit. It is lazy. It is distracting. It takes me out of the picture.
Absolutely.
I want to punch it in the face.
Which is where the seam lines are, so that works out.
It works out, I think.
But and I mean, you have that kind of sequence where she's combating her memories, and that's done. I read that it was kind of inspired by some of the flatter animation you had from Deathly Hallows Part 1 with the tale of the three brothers and things like that, kind of shadow play. Obviously,
beautiful stuff, beautiful work,
beautifully animated. And even the demons at the very beginning, which I kind of picked up on it about, like, I couldn't tell what I was seeing, is they're very flat. Like, there's very much a left side, right side of each of their faces. And then when they come up to the above world, they're way more rounded and three-dimensional, which again is a very interesting style choice. Like, I like that choice in the demon world, but they just kept introducing new characters. They're like, and these are the girls that go to the school, and this is the custodian with no feet, and this is there's the evil rich people that wanted to build a prison, and there's this other nun that's a hell maiden, and it just every 10 minutes we got a new character, and it again, thinking back to Nightmare, even with a big cast, Nightmare's story was simple. You could explain it in a sentence. And
the characters in Nightmare, everybody is basically introduced in the opening number. Even That's Mr. True. Oogie Boogie. They basically have the whole cast come out. And to your point, where it's like we keep introducing new people, and it's like, what the hell is the point of this character? With Nightmare Before Christmas, it's like, I have your little 4-minute number. I know everybody. And even if I don't know everybody, I got the big brush strokes of who the players are going to be in this.
I mean, we get introduced fairly early on to I don't even know her role, but she's like the one holding the vote for whether or not they're going to build that prison. And I feel like they give a good chunk of time to her. Like, we see her house and she's like, no, right. We can vote it down. And then she's gone for like 80% of the movie until her scene comes back. And then we're introduced to these 6 brought back to life people that were like the previous board members. And I'm like, yay, more new characters, like at the 11th hour.
So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that aspect particularly. If you want to be fantastical, be fantastical. Okay? If you want to be otherworldly, be otherworldly. But don't mix it with real world politics.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
With
what you're going to say.
Real world rules.
Yeah. Oh, the rules say that they, even though they were once alive, like, I'm like, and we're kind of looking at like, really? Like, really? Like, you're going to just hold that up?
This is the logic that you're applying to your own movie. Like, well, they're zombies and it's clearly a skeleton, but them's are the rules.
It doesn't say anything about not being brought back from the dead. I guess we got to let them vote.
Which it shouldn't have to, because that's kind of a given, but
I mean, That's the thing. Like, the fact that we're even saying this is insane. Like, yes. you can't bring those two together and expect the audience to go along with it.
And there's little subplots everywhere. There's the subplot of the daughter of the bad guys who turns out like, they cram a whole subplot of her thinking that her parents' prisons are good and then realizing they're not, and then telling them off, and then standing with her friends in front of the bulldozers. Like, that's a whole movie right there. And they jam it into this one character. Like, it's insane.
I honestly, look, I know, Tristan, you said, if there was one, I agree with the positive stuff that you said about Peele's involvement and the casting and and all of those sorts of things. But that is literally the only good thing that I could possibly come at this movie with. I considered this entire thing, hey, spoilers for my rating. I considered this whole thing torturous to go through. It was not pleasant. Like it's one of those things
fun.
where while I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, was I too harsh on Coraline?
Right.
I wasn't, but I was thinking that during this where I was like, man, is the problem me? But I don't think the problem is me. I don't think so.
This makes Coraline look like Nightmare. Like
yes.
It's insane. I had the same exact thought, John, while I was watching this.
On
I
a
was
scale
like, man,
of Wendell to Nightmare, Coraline is definitely closer to Nightmare.
Yeah.
I gave Coraline a 2.5, and I'm like, man, maybe I should have given it a higher rating. Like if I knew I was going to be watching this. And on top of that, like it felt like the voice acting. You have Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key, who are fantastic actors, comedic actors. You have the legendary James Hong and Ving Rhames and Angela Bassett. These are all really good people, but the voice acting was so flat through the entire picture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you have the, I guess you could call her the lead with Kat, like Lyric Ross. She did a very lackluster job. Don't even get me started on Raoul. Good Lord.
Let me offer this. Again, going back to Nightmare. I know it feels like it's our crutch to this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a musical. Selick probably did less voice direction in that than any of the other films that we've watched. Because whoever was, I doubt that he was sitting there saying, no, let's go for a C sharp here.
Right.
That was Elfman and everybody else sitting there. And so there was less room for error in those characterizations. And when you have a character like Mr. Oogie Boogie, that one is just like, the only direction you have to give is have fun with this.
Yeah, you're the diva, have fun.
Somebody can slide in and be like, oh, I got this, don't worry.
Even just the title, like we've talked about protagonist confusion of like, is this Wendell and Wild's movie? Is this Kat's movie? Honestly, I was really engaged in the intro and the story of the parents and building the brewery. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then, nope, that's not the story we're going to tell you. So there goes. But I feel like, because I didn't watch this at all when it came out. I think I saw it like on a screen on Netflix, like, hey, Wendell and Wild coming out, whatever. I didn't even watch the trailer. Wendell and Wild, as far as like what I knew going into it, which I know, like usually we talk about that first, but I feel the same as like when Despicable Me came out. When Despicable Me trailer dropped, I was like, why do I feel like I'm supposed to know what this is, but I have no idea what this, like, was this a thing in the 70s that everybody knew and it's back and I should be excited? I felt the same thing with just the term Wendell and Wild. It's like, hey guys, Wendell and Wild's coming out. I'm like, what is that? Why should I watch that? That's just the vibe I had from the beginning.
I think that's fair. I mean, obviously, I didn't bother watching it when it came out, even though this got a fair amount of accolades. This got nominated for the Annie Award for Best Animated Feature.
It didn't win any awards. It got nominated for a lot,
but it did not win anything. It lost the Annie to Del Toro's Pinocchio.
I mean,
yeah.
So
there's no way it was going to beat Del Toro's Pinocchio.
I'm gonna shift gears just a little bit. So one thing that I think made me roll my eyes with this movie was how damned literal it was. Okay. Where Kat is literally fighting her demons in order for her character to grow. The old guard is literally the old guard. Like, they are people who are reanimated corpses voting for things that aren't going to affect them in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. Okay. I get what you're saying.
I see what you did there. I see.
Yeah.
You literally named it that. So yeah.
I think that's the thing, is that like this movie is filled with that, where it's, you know, the definition of irony is when the figurative becomes the literal. This is the most ironic film that I've ever seen. And I say that ironically. It's so lazy in its in its literal aspect, where it's like, what if a girl had to fight her demons? What if, the reanimated corpses of the old white people were ruining the lives of everybody else? There's so many times when I want no misinterpretation of what I'm about to say. I am 100% against private prisons. 100% against private prisons. But towards the end, when they said, we'll be able to save Rustbank. And I'm like, how? It's gone. No one's there. It's dead. Like, you are not, like, they went too far with it. Like, if the plant, like, if the brewery just went out and like people were starting to leave, or like, it's just like, it was a ghost town. There was a dude in a food truck. That was it. It
was literally a ghost town. It was literal ghosts everywhere.
It was a literal ghost town, literal ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, it's, don't mix real world stuff with fantastical stuff and expect me to have a logical explanation. Like, don't make me do the logical leap. You have to do the logical leap.
I mean, I think it's just a further indication about how that was actually unnecessary. If the movie's going to be about a girl fighting her demons, just let it be about her fighting her demons. And then maybe bring in the janitor and the nun, and that's the intrigue aspect that you have to it, because you find out that there's some sort of curse that's been blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to do to lean it up and just focus it.
That's your movie.
Yeah.
That is your movie. Cat fighting her demons. And that's the movie.
That is what I expected. And that is why the viewing experience was so awful. It's one thing to subvert expectations, gentlemen, but it's another thing to go there and just absolutely deliver something that had nothing to do with the promise of the story you were going to tell. And it just was such an absolute misfire. I'll cop to it. I was falling asleep during this movie because I was just bored, senseless, because I didn't know why I was supposed to care about anything.
I had to cut it up into 2 nights because I did fall asleep when they got to the cemetery. Yep.
I think you nailed it, John, when you said about the promise. I've seen a lot of videos talking about YouTube and short form, and how often you tell someone what to expect and then you deliver on that. Like, that's filmmaking 101. So that kind of ties into like what I was saying earlier about, I was really interested, or more interested in the brewery story and the parents. And like, they already had, like, it looked like they were fighting against land managers and other stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. That was whether intentional or not, the promise I was given in the very beginning of the movie. And then literally the rug gets pulled out and it's like, nope, that's the trauma that starts Cat's spiral into juvie. But man, they did a really good job pitching me on that story, but then it was gone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then there was some weird turn where Buffalo Belzer is supposed to be this uber demon who has hell on his belly, and then all of a sudden he's a good guy at the end, and he forgives his sons, and
because his other demons got delivered back to him.
Well, and if she's fighting her demons, but she never fights Wendell and Wild, they're literally just the comic relief the entire movie.
Yes,
like, they are not.
The freaking movie is called Wendell and Wild. Did they think they were going to franchise it? Is that why they called it Wendell and Wild? Like, maybe like the next movie was going to be another Wendell and Wild adventure? Like, what? Why is it called
James and the Giant Peach was about James, and guess what, guys? There was this really big peach there too. Coraline, it's a single word. Guess what the movie's about?
Mm-hmm. Man, Coraline. This movie could have been called Hell Maiden.
Well, but see, it's an animated movie, so they're not going to call it. And I agree with you. It should have been called that, but Netflix making an animated movie is not going to call something Hell Maiden.
I think it gets back to what Tristan was saying earlier about the split between which audience are you going for. Yeah. Wendell and Wild is a title that you have for a young adult to kid friendly movie.
It's got
Hell
alliteration.
Maiden is us. Yeah. But Hell Maiden is it's like, hey, adults, this is animated, but it's for you. Wendell and Wild is, hey, but maybe the whole family can watch this. I would have been horrified to watch this with my kids. in a lot of ways. And mainly because, like, I mean, this, to get back to a Burton thing, calling it Wendell and Wild, in a sense, is almost like those stories you hear about moms taking their kids to Batman Returns and be like, what the hell just happened? Right? That would have been my reaction while I was watching this with my kids. I'd be like, what did you just trick me into watching here? That's not fair.
Oh, man. I remember, this is a total tangent, but I remember when my parents went to go see Batman Returns in the theater, and they came out and they came home, and I was like, how was it? Was it amazing? It was a Batman film. And they're like, oh my God.
Yeah. 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 The Penguin was a little intense.
Oh my gosh. They said they almost walked out. But I know we're only at 31 minutes. I can't talk about this movie any longer.
I don't think people want to. I don't think people want to listen to us jump up and down on this movie.
I don't think I can do it. I really don't think this is. Oh my gosh, my wife is so nice. She'll watch like 85% of the movies that we review with me, and I'm gonna give a little preview of what we're doing next. She's like, "What are we doing next?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're doing a select of movies of Alfonso Cuarón." She's like, "Oh, thank God." She was so ready to be done with Selick.
And we like trying to jump into animation. Like we definitely understand that we don't see those movies as often, and we have a couple things on the potential slate for next year. But this one was a rolling of the Oogie Boogie dice, and they definitely came up. I mean, I'm just looking at the numbers, guys, and it started at a 5, and it was just kind of a downhill slope since then.
The law of diminishing returns is a thing. It is a thing.
All right, John, I'm going to start with you.
1.
Okay. All right. There we go.
That's it.
Okay. Darren.
Let's just end this. I'm McCoy's dad laying in the bed saying, son, stop the pain. 1, and I'm out.
Now, and also I want to say, John, you really got to stop smoking. Okay. Like this is.
I'm going to bring it back. It fell out of favor, but I am going to single-handedly walk around handing them out to kids because we need to plan for a new generation, Tristan.
Okay, I can't even see you through the webcam because the smoke is filling your basement.
It's really and the fact that I have a basement is a technological marvel, to be honest, with where I live. So that's how dedicated I am.
All right, Darren, how many Buffalo Bills boogers are you giving this film?
Oh, don't put alliteration in. I just don't even care anymore. I love iteration, except for in this movie. I'm obviously giving it a 1 as well. I look, we were talking about the diminishing returns. I look at the last time we gave all 1s, which I know we're not 100% there yet, but in about 30 seconds we will be. But George Miller, like for Mad Max, we all gave 1s too.
Yeah.
And then but he pulled it out. It's kind of the same thing. It's like movie, kind of doing and then Fury Road was like 4.5s and 5s. And it's like, so it's definitely possible to take a decade or 2 off and come out with something amazing. It just was not meant to be for Henry Selick.
Miller's travels as a director directly inverted.
Yeah.
He starts low and climbs up the ladder.
Yes.
Whereas Selick came out top of the pops.
How do you
and then
top it?
Boom.
Yeah.
Done.
It's like Orson Welles. Okay. With me, normally in this situation, I'd be like, I'll be damned if I'm going to be the one that rates this movie higher than you guys. But the fact that you brought up Mad Max, like Mad Max made me want to punch a baby. Like that's how angry I was with Mad Max. I didn't get that angry with Wendell and Wild. I was more disappointed. I was like, man, you let me down. So I'm going to give this a 1.5. So I'm only giving this 0.5 more than you guys.
Sure.
Because I cannot rate this the same as Mad Max. Like that's my bottom tier.
I remember when I've rated things before and you've given me an earful about comparing it to previous or leaving room to go up and down.
Why, yes, Darren. I recall such instances as well.
I believe we've recorded them. Of that.
You don't?
No, I have no recollection of
where
that.
I had to wade in and defend my friend Darren from you.
No, I don't know I don't. I'm
So
very
let's
busy.
look.
I don't
Let's
know
look at
what
the
you're
list of
talking about.
1.5s that Tristan has given. James and the Giant Peach. He has no love of childhood. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. We almost stopped the podcast because of that one. And then Rolling.
Howling was
Rolling all the way back.
1.5.
Yeah, Mad
Yeah.
Max.
Howling was 1.5. That should
Yes.
be less.
So you like this as much as Howling?
Yeah.
That Howling should be less.
We all gave 1492 Conquest of Paradise. God, that movie was so bad. But it's interesting. I mean, not to revel around in the ones, but like I would say they're all bad in different ways. Like this was just like you said, Tristan, this was just a disappointment. I wanted this to be his Mad Max moment, of his Fury Road moment, of like an original story by Selick that he wrote and Jordan Peele, and boom, and we just didn't get that.
No, we didn't. And I to your point, Darren, it is fair to look at something. You might have hated Mad Max passionately, but you can still be equally disappointed and upset about watching something without that passion. It's sort of like the Emperor is passionately evil in episode 3, but more of a Zen all grays sort of evil in episode 6. He's equally evil in both. It's just a different expression. So this being a one would be completely fair.
Down, John.
No, over my dead bot. Oh, that's what will happen.
Oh no. All right. Well,
Zooms, I've been undone.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. And we have noticed an uptick in communication with us. So that we have been striking a chord with our latest picks. And we do listen to every single Facebook message, Instagram post, and Twitter message and email that you guys give us. We, I really do. We really do try to get back to you as soon as we can. I do want to say to the listeners, there's a few of you out there who have been very loyal to us on Facebook, and I have been neglecting you on Facebook, and I do apologize. I do not have a Facebook, and I need to be more diligent, and I promise I will be more diligent. You guys are awesome. We love you. Thank you so much for reaching out to us. Please reach out to us. And if for some reason we're not getting back to you and you have an idea of where you want us to go, please send us an email. Go to thenerdparty.com/contact, like Houselights, send us an email, or if you find us on Twitter, we'll reach out to you there. We really do love it when you guys give us advice and recommendations, and we have a lot of this plotted out for a long time. So even if you give us a recommendation and you feel like we're not listening to you, you may just not hear it for another 6 months. So yes. So Darren, can you tell us what we're going to do next week?
Well, as we close the House of Henry Selick, never to return again, we are going to be jumping over to, as you alluded to, a created set of works by Alfonso Cuarón with Great Expectations from 1998.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.